As you're saying a mantra, you want to welcome the energy of that mantra to come into your consciousness. It's a very interesting mantra is much better than an affirmation. Affirmations are very useful. But a mantra is even more powerful because the Sanskrit language, in many languages, they say the same of Hebrew, they say the same of Greek, Aramaic, vibrates, so to speak, in resonance with the things that the Sanskrit names are describing. Perhaps when the ancient sages had named something like a flower, pushpa is a Sanskrit word for a flower. There's the thought that maybe the sages had looked with their third eye to see the astral colors, the energy of this flower. And when they saw that, they tried to recreate that energy with the sound. So they say the different sounds, and they watch and they go until they put it together, they get the sound, and when they get the similar appearance, the similar energy, they say, yeah, that's a suitable name for this. Our words in English don't necessarily do that. The energy of the word itself may not resonate with a flower. If you say flower, it may not have the same energy that a flower has, but in Sanskrit, in the different mystical languages, they say that is so. And so when you're doing a Sanskrit mantra, it's a very powerful affirmation in that way. But it's wonderful. Whenever your mind starts trying to worry, whenever your mind starts trying to be angry, you can't stop it. You shouldn't try to stop it. In meditation, we don't try to stop the thoughts. We don't try to stop the feelings. We just try to observe them rather than attaching to them. We watch them. By observing it, you get distance. I'll get back to that when we meditate. But the mantra is very helpful. Sometimes the thoughts can be so much, your mind can be going so quickly, it's hard to get any detachment. You can't stop your mind from doing certain things, but you can cause it to do other things. So if you fill your mind with the energy of the mantra instead, it transforms your consciousness very much. As we chant the mantras, it fills the space with a healing energy, and that will affect all the people around. As you go out after sitting here tonight, you will have absorbed the positive energy, and so that will affect people around you as well. You're carrying that to help them. Who knows, maybe from the humble prayers that we're offering here, you'll be walking around and someone you know, they just be healed because the energy does that. It works in that way. The more that you welcome that energy to come into you, the more that kind of thing just happens around you all the time. They say when you meditate or when you do a mantra practice, that you can, if you're most comfortable to sit in a chair, that's fine. If you're comfortable to sit up against the wall, that's fine. If you can sit comfortably on the floor cross-legged, that's the way I prefer, but I've practiced for years. The important thing is keep your spine straight, they say. Try to keep your neck and your spine straight because this allows the energy to flow through the spine, which is very helpful when you meditate. The rest of your spine should be straight. The rest of your body can be relaxed, should be very relaxed. Your shoulders should be back, not too far, hunched forward, back and relaxed, but straight spine. A simple form of mantra here, they'll take many different names of the divine. It's not my purpose to convert anyone to any religious tradition, but I practice in a certain way. I can teach the practices which I have learned. I don't expect anyone, if you're a Christian and you like being a Christian, I hope you'll be a better Christian from working with me, not trying to convince anyone to do anything else. But I can talk from my experience in my tradition as well. And so if you're not comfortable to chant along with us, no need to, but if you want to, please do. But in the Hindu tradition, there are many different names of God. There's a mistaken notion of many gods in the Hindu tradition. God is one. Any well-educated Hindu will tell you there's one God, but we have many names of God, many different images. These are used really for when a person is in a different situation trying to approach divinity. We've got many different limitations that may keep us from this experience of the divine. This is one reason the Hindu images often have a human-type image. In many traditions, you have God has a human form. God doesn't really have a human form ultimately. God is beyond anything that we can imagine as humans. But because we're bound to this human form, we can approach God more easily if we envision him having a human form, or her. Some people, they may have issues with men. An argument with your father, so now you don't like men, so you may not like a divine father. And so Hinduism, you can have a divine mother. You may connect better with your mother. You may not have these issues, but you may just like your mother very much. She's very kind and generous. You may inspire love in your heart to think of her. So this may be a good thing to pray to a divine mother in that way. So, we've got Ganesh with the elephant head. They say he's the remover of obstacles. This is not like there's a separate God who's a man with an elephant head. It's a crazy thought. I agree. As a Hindu teacher, I agree. It's a crazy thought that God is a man with an elephant's head. These images are created for our benefit, ultimately. All the gods have extra arms and things. They may have 4 arms, and this is symbolic of superhuman qualities. When we do the meditation on the image, when we do the mantra practice, we start to develop these superhuman qualities that are embodied by that aspect of divinity. Maybe harder for us to appreciate in the US, but in India, people see elephants all around. And an elephant is a symbol of wealth. One, because you have to have a lot of money to be able to have an elephant. The elephant also is a symbol of removing obstacles, because the work that it may take 20 lumberjacks 2 weeks to do, the elephant comes and takes his trunk and he's done in 5 minutes. And so, as we think of elephants, we may think of these sorts of qualities. Certainly he's big, so it seems like abundance. And so they say meditation on the image of Ganesh, or the mantra of Ganesh, will lead us toward abundance, prosperity, wisdom, attainment. They say an elephant's very intelligent. He never forgets anything, they often say. So in that sense, it's a fitting symbolism as well. We don't have time to go into all the symbolism there. I'm just trying to give you a basic description, because I don't know how much of any of this you've heard before tonight. So I'm going to tell you one mantra of Ganesha, which is a wonderful mantra. Whenever you have an obstacle, if you're starting something and struggling to get through it and you want to get through it, this is a wonderful mantra to use to help you to come to completion. You've got to remember, sometimes more obstacles will come up as you start saying the mantra, and then time will figure themselves out. You've got to have patience and persistence if you're doing the practice. There's one mantra, actually, before I tell you this mantra, I practiced this mantra myself for many years. All day long I was practicing this mantra. In those days I worked a job. Nowadays I don't work a job. I just do what I do, and somehow I've been okay. By the grace of God. But in those days I was working a job, and so I wound up losing my job on account of this, and I was concerned for a minute. I was thinking, well, how am I going to keep my house if I don't have a job? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm not going to spend time worrying about that. I've got much more time now to do my practice. In those days, also I wound up running out of money and time. I lost the house I was living in. I got concerned for a minute. I said, where will I go? Where will I stay? How will I cook food? How will I get food? I worried, a little bit about it. But then I thought, well, if I don't have a place I need to clean, and I don't have to go to the store and buy food, this gives me more time to do my practice. This is wonderful. This is just how I was feeling. I'm not saying you should do this. You don't have to give up your house. You don't have to give up your job. Ideally, when you do a spiritual practice, you just get more and more balanced. You get more successful in the world as you come into a higher realization of who you are. And temporarily, sometimes people get thrown out of balance, but it shouldn't be. If you're working with a spiritual teacher, it doesn't need to be. The energy of the teacher balances you. And the teacher has been through similar things, can give you some guidance to help you remain balanced. So you're getting more prosperous in life as you're also getting more detached from the material things and into a higher state of consciousness. This was the path for me. That's how I was feeling. So all day long I was doing the practice of this particular mantra I'm going to tell you. But that was before I had met my first teacher, who I first physically encountered. When I, for 4 years, I've been saying this mantra almost all day, at least 8 hours a day. I was sitting doing the mantra. Some days I might do it 24 hours. Sometimes I was not sleeping, doing the mantra. And I was not having a huge expansion of my consciousness. But somehow I persisted. But when I went to meet my teacher, I asked my teacher for a spiritual initiation to say the same mantra. And she gave that initiation to me. And when she did it, instantly, immediately, I started having huge results. My consciousness started shifting very much. I'm doing the very same practice I was doing before. So, some people may tell you it's not essential to have a spiritual teacher, but for me it was. I was doing a lot of practice. I was very dedicated. No one would question that or doubt that. But for me, it was necessary. Somehow I was not able to connect. I was too bound to the ego. It's the ego's nature to preserve itself. It's a teacher's nature to lift you above the ego. And for me, that was absolutely true. But so this mantra that I want us to practice a little bit is Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. I'll tell you what it means. Ganapati is a name for Ganesha. So in this tense or case or whatever, we'll say Ganapataye. Ganapataye. I won't go too much into the precise pronunciation. Sanskrit's a complex language, different sounds in English. It's a subject for another day maybe, but ultimately the energy is more important. If you do the best you can for the purpose of peace, for the purpose of healing, for you and for everyone around, you do the best you can. You don't have to worry about mispronouncing too much. You just do the best you can. But so Ganapati there is a name for the divine, which means God, who is the Lord of all the categories of beings in the world. He keeps things organized. But Ganesh is always the remover of obstacles. That's implied there. Om is just a cosmic sound. They say Om is the sound of the universe. The sound of the universe being created. Om. They say maybe if you listen, sit by a river and listen to the water flowing, you may hear Om. It's interesting because in many different traditions throughout the world, mystical traditions, they have similar concept. The Buddhists have Om, is a very sacred syllable for them to use. The Christians have Amen. And in Hebrew and in Arabic also is Amin or something like this. I may not be saying that properly. Not so much the Hebrew scholar and Arabic scholar. Sanskrit I know a little bit, Arabic not so much. But it's very interesting that throughout the world we have a similar. Most mantras or prayers, they'll say Om before and often Om after. Very similar to this Amen, after every prayer in the Christian tradition. Very interesting that once you start to learn about mysticism, you see that the similar thread is through all the spiritual traditions throughout the world. The same higher knowledge is there. So Om is a mystical sound just for the universe. Gum, they say, is the sound which is specific for Ganesha. Gum. G-A-M, you would spell gum. Sounds like chewing gum, maybe. So if you can't remember any more of this mantra than this, remember at least gum. Because if you say gum, 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 you get the same effect with the whole mantra. If you can remember just that, you're good. You can practice that. So Om, Gam, Ganapataye, and Namaha means I bow to. This is saying I bow to God, who is the remover of obstacles, whose seed sound is Gam. Meaning, seed sound means that his whole essence is contained in this single syllable, like a tree is contained within a seed. Om. I bow to God, who's the remover of obstacles, whose seed sound is Gam. Om. That's what this means, basically. And so, for anyone who wants to practice this mantra just a little bit. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. 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 Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.